Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Arcane. On this channel, I look at all things tarot and spirituality. I like to delve behind the scenes of things that are going on in the public. So today we are deep diving into a high profile case that's really in the media at the moment, and that's what's going on between Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. If you haven't checked out my reading on Blake and Taylor, it's a few videos before this one, please do have a look. Today we're going to look at the fallout from things between Taylor and Blake and how that's impacting the relationship with her and Ryan. There's been so much that's come out around the Taylor friendship and a lot of explosive details coming out in light of the Justin Baldoni case. So let's delve behind the scenes. Just a reminder that this is all alleged and for entertainment purposes only. No facts here. If you've got anything else that you would like me to read on, please do feel free to drop it in the comments. I'm always open to suggestions. And this is one that was being highly requested. So let's start by just looking at current emotions between Blake and Ryan. I think their relationship's been under a little bit of pressure with some of the things that have happened in the last month. So we'll draw on Blake, Ryan, energy between them. Okay, so at one point here, they were feeling really harmonious. I think they really felt like they were well matched and that the world was their oyster. Definitely, Ryan really makes them an A-list couple in a lot of ways. And they have connected themselves with people who are also very prolific and in the public eye. So they've come from a place where, you know, they felt that they were absolutely in a great spot. They had everything they could have wanted, very well connected, and we actually see this huge shift come through in the cards, which makes sense in light of things that have happened in the last few months. So at the moment, between them, there is a lot of strain in the relationship. They feel they've sacrificed a lot through this pursuit of the Baldoni case, through what's happened as a result of that. So the things that have happened with Taylor, all of it has put them into this state where actually the relationship's under quite a bit of pressure here. And I think a lot of these moves came from a place of sort of inexperience, maybe of overconfidence here. And they definitely didn't expect this to be the outcome of that. So it's really fascinating to see that this energy is playing out very much between them at this point in time. I would like to draw a few more cards around this part of it, so just really getting a deeper sense maybe of Blake and Ryan individually and how they're seeing what's playing out at the moment. So let's start with Blake. I think Blake in a lot of ways is registering that she is quite foolish in some of what's happened here. She maybe moved quite fast, impulsively from an emotional space, or her and Ryan were both coming at this from an emotional space, and they didn't appreciate everything they'd already sown. So those relationships that I've referred to just then, the connections that they had, I think they were so confident maybe they didn't think that they could potentially lose that. And so she's in a place where she's feeling chaotic right now. Things aren't feeling like they're in a great space for her at this point in time. Okay, let's see how Ryan's feeling in general at this point, and we'll delve a little bit deeper into them as a couple after that. You know, Ryan's actually a bit more confident than she is about how things will play out. He is kind of focused on legacy, on family. I think he thinks he can just kind of endure through what's happened here. So she is definitely in a place where she's more emotional about the last few months, and he's in a space where he's still got quite a bit of confidence here. He thinks, yeah, this hasn't been great, but he could still play it. let's maybe just tune in on the Taylor Swift falling out specifically and get an idea of how that panned out in relation to them as a couple, rather than we looked really in the past reading sort of specifically at the dynamic between Blake and Taylor. So I just want to get a sense what has happened here between them as a couple and Blake and Taylor. So immediately you can see the fighting. There has been a huge amount of back and forth around this. This is something, there's been a lot of conflict. To me, a lot of conversation. So lots of, I mean, it's coming back to that issue of texts and things like that were playing out at the time that the case is talking about, but also since then there has been some back and forth between them, and this has come to a stop now. So they are not in a good space really speaking to her at this point in time. I don't think they're speaking to her. Why it panned out that way to me is that someone's kind of rushed in, maybe kind of self-protective here, strategizing, protective manipulation is a big factor in this. And that's how the cards have fallen this way. How things have panned out was that a party here was manipulative, probably trying to protect themselves, probably trying to protect their relationship, which would come through as the Four of Wands before. So it feels like Taylor's over here and Ryan and Blake are over here, and they're trying to save themselves in it. Let me get a little bit more information on that, on how that's played out. I wouldn't be surprised here if maybe Taylor has said something about Ryan, which has caused this sense of her being thrown to the wayside. So maybe she's identified something in the relationship that she doesn't think was healthy, or maybe ways in which he was propelling the narrative around Justin Baldoni. But something here is it's creating a defensiveness between her and them, and it does feel very much like she's kind of been sacrificed in the whole thing, right? I think she's likely the Queen of Wands here. I'm not sure of her star sign, but it's coming through Sagittarius maybe, or a Leo or Aries, right? And this is done. This is ended here. I just want to get clear on why it's ended, how that panned out in actuality. Even if she's not those star signs, the Queen of Wands is quite an independent female, a strong female, a beautiful one. I think she emulates a lot of that energy. So even if she's not a Queen of Wands, she definitely emulates the energies associated with the Queen of Wands. So something about her here does feel like it was a risk to their relationship, and just maybe their public standing, and they have needed her to get in line with what they have been saying, what they presented. Maybe Taylor has the ability to expose them as liars in some way, or as having misrepresented themselves during this period with Justin Baldoni. And so it does feel like it's maybe Ryan. I'm not getting really explicit cards around him just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a pregnancy related to this, and maybe that's part of the protectiveness here. But we keep getting the sun on the base of the deck, and the sun in that position can be a pregnancy. I mean, not necessarily. She could have a little bit of star power, and it could just be coming through that way. Whatever is coming to Ryan and Blake is really a reckoning. I think we used that term in the previous video as well. It just feels like they were owed, Justin really was owed justice for this. Whatever's gone, and again, judgment, similar, very similar energies in those two cards. So whatever they've done here is kind of a punishment to balance out places in which they have been unfair, and I think they've been unfair to a lot of people in the past. So Justin is just the reckoning here. So this separation is really disappointing to someone. I want to say to probably to Blake, actually. And again, I do think, she has in some ways tried to gesture here, but she has been left behind. So moving forward, I sort of struggle to see them as friends. And we've got the Sun again. I'd be inclined to say someone in this situation is pregnant. They're due to be pregnant. But there's something just pertaining to a child that connects in with this at the moment. Again, allegedly, entertainment purposes only. You can see the drama here. Okay, what else did I want to have a look at? So we keep seeing this ending, right? I would like to look at the public impact on Ryan. I think we're seeing very clearly that a lot of what's played out between Taylor and Blake is going to impact Blake's friendships. I think what's playing out between Blake and Justin is going to impact her career connections and network and opportunities. But I want to see the impact that this is having on Ryan publicly, because I do think he's very involved in this, but it's like, are the public identifying it that way? I mean, there are parts of this that we don't know about yet. There are things between Ryan and Blake here that are just not clear to the public at this particular point in time. And that they might eventually become a little bit clearer. What I will say, if he felt that Blake was ruining his brand too much, he might be inclined to move away from her a bit, or sort of pin a lot of this on her, just to make sure that he comes out sort of looking like the good guy in it all. Yeah, we've got, again, on the base of the deck here, we've got this. We have the Emperor. So Ryan probably would come through as the Emperor. He might have some really dominating characteristics behind the scenes. It's maybe not as Mr. Nice Guy as what you see in the public a lot of the time. He's very business minded. Again, as someone who's very business minded, he'll be looking at what's going on with Blake, with their friendship, or sorry, with their relationship, and just trying to distance himself from some of the decisions she's made if they're likely to impact his business opportunities here. Again, he's a manipulator in the relationship, right? I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of what's happened has been propelled by him, has been guided by him, but really when it blows up, he's going to take a step back. He's not going to claim the responsibility of being the one who created this. Let's just look at Ryan's career in a little bit longer term here. I think he would potentially play off things with Blake, he might say she wasn't in a good place mentally, something like this. Was she, and maybe that's why we're seeing this baby symbolism a little bit, was she postpartum when things happened on the movie set? And something like that might be used by Ryan in certain contexts as an excuse that maybe she wasn't feeling the most stable at the time. And so he's been able to use that just to get in the good graces of some people. It might not even be something he really publicly says, but maybe in kind of business context when he's trying to negotiate, he's feeling like he needs like an excuse for what's happened. And this might be something that he'll come up with. He'll say, oh, she wasn't in a great space. Yeah. Try and distance himself from what's happened. For him not to take accountability for it, and for her in some ways not to have to take a whole lot of accountability for it. Behind the scenes, he probably is like a little bit worried about the career aspect of it. I don't think he thinks the public are going to dissociate from him. I think his feeling that he can win them round, but yeah, in some ways they are a little bit removed from some circles because of what's played out with Blake and Taylor more than anything. Let's look at the relationship for the rest of this year. So Ryan and Blake, what's going on in the relationship for the rest of this year? And then we'll look at longer term. Okay, so what I will say is this. Ryan has been controlling. He's definitely controlling in this relationship. I think that's going to be something that they're talking about and they're thinking about as a couple. Blake might feel now that she is more vocal about the ways in which that he might have steered things between them, and this is alleged, remember. But there's a bit of conflict around this issue of maybe him being possessive. It might be an environment that feels for a period of time hostile, and maybe just as they're navigating these conversations around the court case, around Justin Baldoni, around kind of the ongoing fallout of it all. I do think Ryan is moving in secret in the hope that he can get one up on Justin when it comes to the trial. So there's information here he's keeping close to his chest. I would say that that he might try and work into the trial. What I will say, towards the end of the year, Ryan's not going to give up on this marriage. I think in a lot of ways it gives him social currency, even though they're not in a great space. The whole presentation of being a father is beneficial to him at times. And so he is going to really hone in on that. I don't think he's going to give it up, the relationship, at this point in time. He'll try and be smoothing things over. He'll try and make things more harmonious for them as a couple, even though there is some stress at the bottom here. Can I just look briefly at longer term between them? Look, there'll be a time when they juggle the idea of this marriage, whether it's what they really want or they don't want. I would be inclined to think that right now they're going to stay in it, that even kind of financially, I feel like for Ryan, it's better to stay in the marriage. Like there's something here, like a currency, like a benefit to remaining in the situation he's currently in. Definitely they're thinking about it. There could be an option to leave it, but I don't really see that coming in at this point in time. I would be interested to see what happens with the court case and how that might just longer term influence their relationship, but that might be a separate reading. Let's draw a couple of cards from this deck just around the dynamic between them longer term. And it just kind of confirms what we're saying. So in a lot of ways, this isn't a relationship a lot of people would want to be in. It does feel kind of controlling in a lot of ways, or just not the most healthy. I will say, I think they both can be quite manipulative, and I think that's what we're seeing play out at the moment. So maybe in some ways they feel like they're suited to each other and they understand one another. Yeah, I think for the time being they'll be together, because there is a sense of being evenly matched for the moment, and that they are probably best to go through this period together until they get through the trial at the very least. But I don't, and even in the longer term, see them right now separating. But that might change. That might absolutely change after things play out in court. All right, I hope that made sense and that you got something from that. I'd be really interested to see how this case goes moving forward, and how those dynamics play out between Ryan and Blake and Taylor in the longer term. If you have anything that you really want a reading on, please do drop me a comment on it. And if you're not already subscribed, please do. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.